welcome to season 3 of the Dune Over. We are reading Children of Dune. I don't know where this book ranks for the rest of you in this. It's been a while since I read it. And
it's book 3. I'm just kidding.
My opinion changed on, I think I used to kind of be low on Dune Messiah, but I kind of think I'm a little higher on it after our last reread. And I think it's because of how much I love the Tleilaxu in it.
Yeah. It's got a lot going for it.
Yeah. I am Dan, your host, along with Jennifer, my lovely co-host, who just celebrated her birthday on Tuesday and had some spiced tacos.
Ooh, spiced tacos.
Spiced tacos. I had some sizzle pizza. It was actually horrible.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It was not good. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's
I had
usually
to go,
like...
Yeah, I had to go get pizza the next day to get the taste of pizza out of my mouth.
Did they just
wow.
make it wrong, or like?
No, it was a complete fuck up on my part. They had a special banh mi flavored pizza, and
risky.
Yeah, and totally not worth it. So then I ended up going the next day, and the flavored slices I got were much better. So yeah,
it's like right up there when I tried goat cheese pizza in San Diego.
Ooh.
It was pungent.
Oh. The pizza that I got the following day had like spinach, feta, almonds, and cranberry on it, and that totally blew it away. It was so good.
Is that like
a Waldorf pizza?
Like Thanksgiving pizza?
It almost tasted like it. Yeah.
It's just in the middle. They dump that big thing of cranberry sauce right in the middle of it. There you go.
It's basically like, you know how pizza places will sell you like a hot salad, like with lettuce and everything. It was basically. I'm just kidding.
No. They do have a pizza place that does that.
Oh, I know. Like every Hungry Howie's I've ever ordered from always has like pizza, or always has a salad and
Cajun crust. Wacky Wednesday.
This is a Southern thing.
It's $5 every Wednesday, so like
nice.
Wacky Wednesday.
That sounds great.
We are joined by Scott, our new permanent third member of the group, because Sid will be joining us. Sid will be joining us. She's running late. She didn't get to read the last 30 pages, so she'll be doing play along and commenting. Scott, also, you can pick it up from his website or just email him. Dunetober.
Yes. Woo.
I found it in my long box finally. I put it in there and
oh, nice. I mean, in a long box. That's cool.
I was shuffling stuff and I was like, oh, there it is. Fucking finally. I couldn't remember what box I put it in because I kind of at a certain point stopped filing stuff. And it went in order of I bought it or it showed up at my house. And
nice.
The next vacation I have a very long, arduous task ahead of me.
Like 900 books?
Like, it's basically, I'm just going to call it the lockdown boxes. Where, like, I was just sitting home going, ooh, this seems good. Ooh, this seems good. Let me order that. Let me order that. Let me order that.
I'm still doing that.
Andrew sent me this.
I'm still doing that. I got some more of those coming.
So we started the third season after the movie came out. Like, Jen was like, all right, let's fucking do this.
Yeah.
When I watched the movie, I'm like, okay, I'm pumped. I'm always pumped to like read Dune, talk about Dune. But especially I really wanted to get back into it. And I was really pumped because I'm like, okay, I know they're going to make the second part of the first movie. I really want them. Yeah, I really want them to get into making this one. And then God Emperor. And then Heretics. I'm really waiting for Heretics.
And let me add our fourth member on.
Oh.
And we have Sid.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi. Sorry I'm late.
It's okay.
It's no problem. Glad to have you here. It felt weird doing all of the Paul takedowns in Dune Messiah without you for the last 3 parts.
Yeah, and I just finished that book too because I got so behind with you guys. I just never got caught up. So yesterday and today I finished that book.
Wow.
Yeah.
So after rereading it, I felt it went up my list of Dune books because like
it went down for me.
Really?
It rocketed down.
But I think my love of the Tleilaxu, who's just such an asshole in that book, like he kind of was like Prince Robot to me in that book because he's just such an a-hole.
Well, he's such an interesting villain, right? Because his motivations are just sort of like they kind of want to get rid of Paul, but he also kind of wants to like prove how cool Golas are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that about him, but that whole group of saboteurs that did nothing.
They're pretty lame. Yeah,
but it's much in character of Irulan of being there and doing nothing.
Oh my god! And then at the end,
she's wailing.
Classic Irulan. Yeah, classic Irulan. Like, I realize now that I love him. Okay,
writing in her journal.
Yeah, save it for your diary, babe.
So he full on nagged her into loving him. Like he completely did.
Bad example to set for
this
young boys.
There's a lot of bad examples in this
This is not
series.
what we're trying to promote.
No. Paul's not a role model.
Not by any means.
No, not at all.
This book is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Like Stilgar is going through some like real shit here.
Yeah.
I love
it.
And
I think it's the deepest we get into his psyche, where he knows what he's done is wrong.
It is the most like POV of Stilgar, I think, that I can remember at least. Like
it only took the third book for us to get a Stilgar chapter.
And especially because the last book, it was mostly just like Stilgar is kind of weepy because, or not weepy, but he's just like, okay, I'm doing the diplomat thing now. Like,
he's so put upon. He is so put upon. He's like,
yeah.
But I just learned this. Well, you got to do this. Like
he's like, these vibes fucking suck.
Yeah, I do. Like you were saying, Jen, about getting to this as a movie, like seeing Javier Bardem do this stuff would be great.
He's gonna become Anton Chigurh.
Yeah, exactly. He's like get those Chigurh vibes back, but also be like, no, I got to put on a suit and tie, and I'm sick of that. I gotta just want to go back to the siege.
The coin. Well,
how Stilgar got his groove back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It took Jessica coming back to awaken the beast within him. We'll get to that.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So, like, he's pacing outside he's become kind of like their surrogate father, I guess. Their protector, the twins.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, him and Irulan are like the foster parents, which is the fucking nuttiest thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Surrogate father that is thinking about killing them in their cribs.
Yes.
Periodically.
He's like, I could just twist it in them right now and be done with it, but then I could create something worse.
He's like, just kidding. Unless.
Which it's funny because he's just like, I think what I've done has been wrong. Like, Paul isn't God, but we created this God and I unleashed the Fremen on the universe. Like, I played this part and I think what I did was wrong.
I think that the one thing that startles me most with this book, because spoiler alert, in the previous book, our character Paul Muad'Dib dies, like walks into the desert blind, and I feel like there is absolutely zero mourning for him.
Like Irulan was probably sad.
Yeah, but even like
crying about it.
I feel like everyone's just like, eh.
Yeah. Well, he was blind, right?
It was time.
Well, it's just because of his mythos, right? Like, I think he even mentioned in the book several times that, like, anything that he does is, like, prophetic or legendary. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't, eat a meal without it being, like, put into the holy books as, like, a rite or whatever. Yeah. So... he's just also a blind, grieving husband walking his dumb ass into the desert for drama. But because he's Muad'Dib, they're like, oh.
Yeah. Stilgar's worried about Jessica coming back. He's like, why is she ending her exile now? Like, why does she leave the softest?
Everybody's worried about Jessica coming back. Every single person on Arrakis is like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And he's like, would she sense my doubts? Like, she is a Bene Gesserit witch. Like, if she tells me to fall on my knife, am I going to do it?
Yeah, good question.
And maybe a little bit Maybe a little bit more in the later chapters.
Probably.
Maybe a little bit more in the later chapters. Everyone is very, very concerned that she has gone back to the Bene Gesserit ways, or whatever that means. Like, is it more training? Is she under their influence?
Yeah. So I think the main worry there, like for the twins anyway, is like, is she once again trying to perpetrate the breeding program of the Bene Gesserit? Because that would affect them.
Oh yes,
a lot.
They address that directly. I like that they address everything just head on in this. Like that specifically. Like, you think they want us to do it? To have another,
what does Leto say? He's like, that doesn't appeal to me. Or something.
Yeah, it's like, no, thumbs down.
He flat out calls Jessica a spice addict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like in the child came after spice addiction, and are these kids going to be like Alia? Because Chani was a spice addict.
Yeah. I can quit anytime. It's fine. I can.
Yeah. But I also feel like, and this is just me, but I feel like Fremen women have birth all the time, obviously, and they're not all like awakened to their past lives in the womb.
No.
So I feel like that Atreides bloodline is funking stuff up in there.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably a combination of the training, their special training too, right? Plus the overdosing, plus, need for story magic. Right. It's all those things add on top of each other.
Yeah.
He's also, there's a line in here, he's like, I could end all of these dreams.
Yeah.
How simple it would be. Like, I could just end it now. And he's basically wanting to go back to how things were. Like, he's now gone down this path, and he's like, I miss the old ways where, I could just cut a motherfucker and just dump them in the waste.
My dude, you can't anymore.
Well, take him to the death still, but
And Muad'Dib created a bureaucratic monster which sat astride human affairs.
Yeah.
That's the saddest part in all this. It's just the bureaucracy and the humdrum of the politics and filing cabinets.
Right. It necessitates filing cabinets for sure.
Liet Kynes from the grave is like, I knew it.
I knew. When they are like bemoaning that, right? They're bemoaning like, oh no, there's grass and rain sometimes now, and like, this sucks.
Yeah, it rained on Arrakis.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of talk about that with how the
floods. They had floods for the first time.
Oh yeah, Fremen died.
And
they had to make a word.
What are they called? That's okay. The worm,
sand trout.
The sand trout. And basically, like, I feel like it's very symbolic because these sand trout that are like baby sandworms, they're like, oh, the sand trout love the water, but then the big sandworms it's poisonous to them. So I think it's especially Leto who talks a lot about this, but
yes,
yeah.
So the next chapter starts with the Atreides twins waking up, Ghanima and Leto the second. Well, actually the third, but
right. But we're just going to pretend that other one.
Oh, right, yeah, the one that died out screen.
Yes. Leto 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
And it's like they both wake up in separate rooms, but they're doing the same thing at the same time with the stretching. Like they have their twin sense, I think they called it.
Mm-hmm.
And Hera, like, of course, it's not something without someone giving Hera shit.
Yeah.
Bless her heart.
She really gets the shaft in all these books.
Yeah. Did she get laid yet? Does anyone know? Like, did she get laid yet?
Is it? I don't know.
Stilgar laid the pipe to her.
Yeah, they keep mentioning that Hera is Stilgar's most favorite wife, and I'm like, is this a different Hera? Did Hera get?
But he was thinking about Jessica the whole time.
The whole time.
Yeah.
Hera's like, oh, I see you've dressed
Hera's
to honor your
wife.
grandmother. And Leto's like, how do you know it's not ourselves we honor? And she's like, my eyes are just as blue as yours, which is like, don't taunt me, boy, you may be royalty, but we both bear the stigma of melange addiction, eyes without whites. What Fremen need more finery or more honor than that. And he goes, Hera, my love, if you were but younger and not Stilgar's, I'd take you as my own. I was just like,
Yeah.
You're like 9 years old, bro.
I know.
Like, take it down.
You just picture a little kid like saying that to this like 50-year-old woman, you know?
And she's like, "Ooh, I've still got it. I am still young."
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. The vapors. I'm gonna go beat a rug right now and clean it. Like your
I'm gonna go beat a rug.
Yeah.
Is that what they would refer to as like masturbating? Like, I'm gonna go beat my rug.
No, I think they got it playing with the sand trout.
Playing with the sand trout. Yep.
Like that's or honoring Shai Hulud.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what you call it. This is why I'm on the show.
I mean, it's wasting moisture, right? It's probably
I'm glad you brought it up because I have had that thought, but I didn't want to bring it up and out myself as any more of a weirdo.
This is a safe place.
I think you have a point, though. Yeah. Yeah.
They're having a talk with Hera where they're like, should we fear our grandmother? And they're like, don't fear. And she's like, will she believe we fear? She's like, no, probably not. She's a Reverend Mother.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really sorry. I'm going to go back to this whole water thing. What if it's like... Okay, so in the movie... So, sorry, let me go back. So throughout the whole book, they talk about like coffee service, right? And in the movie, basically coffee service is them just spitting into some coffee. So like maybe that's how they do the thing with the honoring Shai Hulud.
Yeah. Or maybe it happens.
There's a coffee service, but it's like a yogurt service.
Yeah, it's like a different beverage. It's like a chai latte.
Blink-182 fans.
Ooh, chai latte.
Yeah, that's
organic.
Chai Halu.
Chai Halu.
Oh, there
you go.
Let's get some merch. Does that mean what does it just happen in their still suit sometimes too? Like, is that what's getting recycled? There's
yes, in the thigh pads.
Because I think you noted that they didn't mention that poop gets recycled in your still, so they kind of gloss over that in the movie. They're like, all of your.
Dan's already left.
Yeah, it's like I'm done. Yeah, all of it. All of that gets recycled.
My partner has no knowledge of Dune outside of me rambling at him, but he really, really enjoyed the movie. So he's been letting me just inundate him with Dune lore. But one thing that he brought up really quickly was Fremen must really love going down on each other because it's free water.
Oh yeah,
because they're so thirsty all the time.
Yeah,
I was like,
this is
I honor you.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Sharing
you give
water.
your water to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
To you.
That's a great. Wow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
think your partner needs to be on this stream.
Thank you, Marcy. Yeah.
I am kind of surprised that it never comes up in Dune. What with all the orgies?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. There are
9-year-olds, no less, going to orgies.
It's not like we haven't breached the subject of sex in Dune.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, we're over that bridge, but
just not in such a silly way. We're just taking it from a more silly approach of
So
poop
do
and
we
pee.
need to write? Do we just need to write the fanfic sex Dune?
We need to contact Brian
Fill in the
Herbert.
blanks.
We need to contact Brian Herbert. Tell him to consult his father's notes. What happens to the jizz?
Yeah, that's got to be in there. There's a notebook with
there.
There's a notebook with at least 2 pages on that. Oh man, if he's at a convention, if he's ever at a convention, I'll volunteer to ask about that.
You'd be the one guy in the panel who's
I'll stand in line behind 3 stormtroopers and a Deadpool and ask the question about what happens to the jizz to Brian Herbert.
You gotta do it.
For the 7 laps that I'll get, it's worth it. It's worth it.
So are we gonna?
You'll get more than 7 just out of me.
Okay, cool. Okay. Sweet.
So is there a Fremen term for stealing a woman's moisture?
Oh, we were just talking about that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're discussing.
Well,
we talked about as giving, where you're both giving each other your moisture.
Yeah, no, this is all consensual.
Yeah, totally.
It'd just be like, hey, so can we say oh, you're giving your water to me willingly or something?
Yeah. It's something like that. Yeah.
The water of your loins. Do we not like the word loins?
No. I'm trying to think if there's a more clever word, but I don't think there is.
Oh, excuse me.
Because like I'm kind of trying to think like double entendre kind of term.
Oh yeah, sure. We'll workshop it for sure.
Yeah, the water of your labia is just not good enough.
No.
Too clinical, too gynecological.
Yeah.
No, we don't like that.
Yeah, not sexy enough. It's not a sexy word.
I believe the people of Earth called it booty sweat.
Oh yes, 10,000 years ago, we called it booty sweat.
You waste water.
Oh.
I don't know.
It's a start. Go from there.
You give water for love. Does it give water for lust water?
Lust water.
No. We're gonna workshop this. We'll
workshop it.
This is gonna be like 2 days from now. All of a sudden we're like, I got it.
Jennifer has a particular talent for this sort of thing. I'm sure she's gonna nail it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be listening to this entire time. I'm just gonna be thinking about this.
Does anybody remember Billie Myers from the 90s, the pop star that she was kind of a one-hit wonder? So she had a song called Kiss the Rain. I feel like that's getting at something. I feel like that's
that
one.
Like
that's getting but that's same era though. Yeah, you're in the right zone. Like the deserts missed the rain. That's what yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
That was everything but the girl.
That was everything but the girl. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like a desert. Yeah.
They would love that song on Arrakis for sure.
I'm honestly just thinking
for that.
I honestly think like I cannot get it out of my head, and it's WAP by Cardi B. That's it.
I mean, yeah. Really, we solved this already, and there's somebody else.
The water of Sahaya, the desert flower.
It's WAP.
Oh yeah. Oh,
wet ass Fremen.
I want a little bit of that Sahaya water.
Don't we all?
See, and
I'm
this
so
goes to
good.
the comment Jen got about the guy saying, I really associate with Jen more because she loves this book and her sense of humor is...
It's all coming together.
Oh, yeah.
Which is better than people leaving nasty comments.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
We're just the backing band. You're Freddie Mercury. It's fine. It's cool.
We're just extras.
Cool
yeah. I'm just happy to be here.
I'm happy that you're here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
Because, we went into so much flooring talk, and we needed you to talk about the flooring.
Oh, man.
It was relevant.
There was a lot. Also, I would just like to say, just quickly, before we continue the real discussion of this book, only, even just so far in this first section of this book, I find the twins to be such a more compelling protagonist than Paul was in the previous book. Because what did he do for that whole book? Tell me what he did.
He was a sad boy the whole time. Sad boy. There's all that Duncan and Sightale, and a little bit of Alia being cool.
He knew the future, and he just complained about knowing the future the whole time.
It didn't do anything to change it. Like when he went to the place with the dwarf and the guy who was in the Fedaykin, why'd you do that?
Yeah,
it's echoes of Leto, where he's like, I know this is a trap, but I'm just going to walk into this bitch.
He's in the prescience trap.
For some reason, when Leto did it, I was like, that's hot. But when Paul's doing it, I'm like, you're a fucking dumbass.
So Leto did it with bravado. He was just like, oh yeah, we're going to spring this motherfucker, and I'm the Duke.
And he didn't have superpowers. He could have been wrong.
Right.
He could have been wrong.
That's what it is.
Yeah, you're like, you're an idiot. Okay.
Mansplaining
so
to Alia
so
and everybody.
Yeah.
I see a million things, and it's all coming at me at one time.
For what, Paul?
Don't oversell it, Paul.
For what?
Yeah. I'm trapped by prescience.
He knew. Yeah. He was like, I have to find a way to break out of this path, and then he just keeps going down the fucking path. Just stop, my guy.
But then in this book, it's like little Leto is kind of elbowing Alia, and he's like, the golden path?
You might want that.
I've been thinking about these little fish in the sand. Got some big ideas.
So there was some interesting stuff in here where she's coming to test us for abomination, and they're talking about Alia, and they're like, yeah, so will her mother's eyes observe what we have observed? Why not? Yes, that could be Alia's fears. Who knows abomination better than an abomination?
Right. Rough.
We could be wrong, he's like, we're not. And he started quoting like
Alia.
Bene Gesserit.
I had forgotten how much focus of this book, like even from the very beginning, was on just Alia fucking up.
Oh yeah. Well, and they foreshadow. I mean, like right there. I think you're almost there, Dan, when you're reading it. But they are foreshadowing like for who knows what lost and damned persona out of our evil past may take over the living flesh. So they're like giving away, like, hey, this might happen later, reader. Wouldn't that be crazy?
They also make an assumption that because they haven't done the spice trance, that's why they haven't been possessed.
Right. Yeah, they said no. They took Dare seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Alia is just like, why the fuck is mom coming home? Like,
yeah.
She's an annoying in-law who's gonna be like judging me.
There is no love lost between those two.
No.
Like for each other. Like it's not like one loves the other or pines for one of the other or anything. They hate each other.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Even the greeting between the twins and Alia, there's like stress.
Well, yeah.
You're like, oh, here she comes now, and Ganima's like, a spoil of war greets her illustrious relative, like just snarky, and Alia's just like, and Leto's like, you see, beloved aunt, we prepare ourselves for today's encounter with your mother.
I love them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
She's like, hold your tongues, both of you. I'm over it already. I just got here.
You guys know how Damian Wayne is a little shit to Batman?
Yeah.
And that's my favorite thing because that's what he deserves. Yeah. Batman deserves that son. Like,
yeah, totally. That's what you get.
You read what you tell, that's what you get. That's how I feel about the twins with like every member of the Atreides.
Damian is literally me reaping, me sowing the meme. That's literally like, well, here you go.
That dynamic, I love it.
Ollie is just like, I warned both of you to behave. You know the reasons. And they're like, oh, we know your reasons, but you may not know ours. And Ganima's giving her shit now, and Ollie's like, Gani, knock it the fuck off. Like,
cut it out.
She's so done with them. Like, immediately upon seeing them, she's like,
Leto's like, today of all days, we will not pretend to be simpering infants.
But they're still they're in 9-year-old bodies.
Yeah.
Like throughout this entire thing, I obviously just saw them as older adults throughout the entire thing. So it's really, really hard for me to still imagine them as 9-year-old kids walking around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and then I think Leto says it at one point. It might even be like when they finally meet Grandma, where they're like, I know that this is a child's body, but I am not a child. Like he says that directly, right? Yeah, to her. I was gonna say too, we're talking about like the weird, creepy kids. This came out the same year as The Omen, originally as a book. 76, I believe, is when this was originally.
76, 78, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, something like that. And so The Omen came out in 76. So now, I doubt that they would have had time to influence each other, but it was like creepy kid year, I think.
I don't think they're creepy.
There's a little I feel like I get some vibes of like, Alia from the first book when she's coming out with the Gom Jabbar to kill the Baron.
Yeah, I guess the difference for me is that Alia was like 2.
Well, yeah, that's creepier.
And that's
like a
murdering toddler.
Yeah, a murderous, well-spoken toddler is a lot more disarming than, like a 9 or 10-year-old acting like an adult is weird.
Yeah.
But
they kind of try to do that anyway, though. You've been around, like, they can be like, I'm going to pretend like I'm a grown-up and talk about taxes or what, and you're like, oh, that's cute.
I think too.
Go ahead.
I think too that Alia had a lot more of like a chip on her shoulder because she was one of the first abominations, and now it's like, oh man, now this whole fucking family's an abomination.
Abominations left and right.
Yeah, so I think that with Alia, where she was kind of like the first of her kind, and like the world that these two twins, I guess, like grew up in, is a little bit different because Alia preceded them. But she's only what?
Yeah.
9 years older than them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, like 15.
15, yeah.
15.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So she's like
24
Mhm.
ish is what I was thinking.
That sounds right.
See, I thought that she was maybe like 18.
She wasn't. She was 14 in the last book. Because remember, we were commenting like it was weird that Duncan was like kind of wanting to.
That's true.
And she got intro fighting naked, basically.
Yeah, I remembered her being 15.
14, 15, somewhere in that range.
Yeah,
But yeah, so to that point, that like Alia was first. Also, Alia was like completely on her own because Jessica left. Jessica fucked off back to Caladan. We don't know how soon, but by the time Messiah started, Jessica was gone.
Yeah, she wasn't there the whole time.
Paul
it sounded
was
immediately
busy with whatever the
after
fuck he's
Paul
doing.
took the throne.
Yeah, and just being obsessed with Chani and very obviously not caring about anyone else because as soon as Chani was gone, he was like, peace, extras, and just dipped. And it seemed like the way they described it was like Alia was doing all right in her childhood, like keeping her personality secure or unspoiled or whatever. And then as she got older, probably with Paul dying and with her becoming in charge of his entire fucking empire when she was just 15, like
ingesting mass amounts of spice to go into the trance.
Right. She had to do all the rites in her temple. I mean, she didn't have to, but she did at some point. There's a religious expectation for her.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like she was doing that like daily. I mean, if not daily, like multiple times a week.
I think.
Yeah,
like a morning and night service.
So she's transmuting. Yeah, she's transmuting poison and then spitting it back out and having an orgy in front of her or whatever.
All the time.
Overdosed in front of Duncan and then married him.
Yeah. She's Courtney Love, and that's hard on you.
Ooh,
That's a hard life. It's a hard life on you.
So Ghanima and Alia,
I'm not trying to.
Like she's going through a lot. I don't blame her.
It's just a lot.
Yeah.
Ghanima and Alia seem to not get along at all.
Oh no.
Because there's like Ghanima, like Alia's like, is it possible she merely wants to see her grandchildren? And Ghanima's like, yeah, that's what you hope, dear aunt, but it's damn well not likely.
Yeah.
And Alia's like, she can't rule here. She's got Caladan. That's enough. When her father went to the desert to die, he left you as regent. Have you any complaint? Alia's just shooting, and she's like, I mean, it was reasonable, Leto. He's like, you were the one person who knew what it was like to be born as we were born. It's rumored that my mother has returned to the sisterhood, and both know what Bene Gesserit think about abomination. And Alia goes, yes. And Ghanima goes, once a witch, always a witch, so it said. And Leto's like, shut your fucking mouth. Like, you're playing a game here, and I don't like it.
But, speaking truth, though.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, definitely.
And Alia's a scary person. Like,
oh, yeah.
They acknowledge that she's kind of frightening.
She has an army of religious zealots at her disposal, and she'll kill you, too. She can just kill
even on her own.
She'll just kill you.
She did the test at 11.
Yeah.
Let's remember that.
Yeah.
Naked.
Yes. Frank Herbert remembers that well.
I can't remember at
Pepperidge
what
Farm
point.
remembers.
I can't remember at what point during, I don't know if it's this chapter, maybe an upcoming one, but they talk about the twins. They talk about maybe that their mother is going to make them go through the Gom Jabbar test, but they're like, we know, she knows that we can't because we basically we already know.
Did the test.
Yeah. And they also talk, I like that part too because I think it's Leto, well, and Ghanima both, but they remember the moment when Jessica was there while Paul was doing it because they have those, which I love that as an ability or as a curse or whatever you want to call it. Just is because if you can kind of see that weighing on them and it really create. I think, and maybe that kind of to your point said that just makes them more interesting. Like they just have a depth to them that's just really in compelling, right?
There's also there's a scene here when Alia is walking away that Ghani sheds a tear, and Leto turns. He's like shedding water for the dead. He whispers it, and foreshadowing. Yeah.
That's very subtle foreshadowing there.
But she cares. She knows that her aunt is not herself. Jen, go ahead. Sorry.
I just imagine with all of the, like, I don't know about like you folks, but I feel like as a young child, I was always told like, oh, like you're an old soul, but that really what that means is that you just have a lot of trauma for a fucking kid, and
or at least anxiety.
Anxiety, yeah. And now it's like at least all of the like gifted old souls, like kids, grew up, I don't know, like me, just not having the ability to do shit, like not being talented at anything. So I just imagine like them just growing up with no talent whatsoever because they were just told they were gifted old souls.
Yeah, these are the ultimate gifted children.
Right? Yeah, these are the gifted kids.
Yeah.
Son and daughter of God. It's rough.
I do love them, though. I find
them
to be very great. Compelling protagonists.
Also, their alternate personalities, where Leto is kind of logic-driven, and Ghanima seems to be more emotion-driven. Like, she genuinely cares about everything, and Leto only cares about his sister.
He cares about that golden path.
Yes, well, that's what I was gonna say. That's his.
You could say too, though, maybe like he's ambition driven, or he's also sort of mythologically driven, I guess. Like he's driven by, fulfilling this idea of himself and his family, where Ghanima is kind of trying to like understand herself and her brother first, and then kind of move forward from there, right? Like trying to figure out what's really going on here before we just spin off into golden paths and whatnot, right?
I feel like that's a good assessment. Yeah,
like he's trying to pick up the pieces that his father left.
Yeah,
which we will learn more. But the golden path, we talked about it in the last kind of. The golden path is the path that Paul refused to take. He saw it, but he was like, no.
But now the golden path is like it's a little bit different. Like, spoiler alert, folks. The golden path is really just that Leto wants to fuck his sister.
Well, but also he has his dream, right? Like, has he hit on that yet? His prescient dream about flying around in armor? We'll get there, right? That's coming. Yeah.
He's also, not that either of you are wrong, but he's also concerned for like the existence of spice in the universe.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
It's only happens on Arrakis, and he knows that it only happens on Arrakis because Arrakis is a fucking desert, and now all of the what's it called? Terraforming. All of the terraforming projects are like making streams and grasslands and forests and rain and stuff, and like he sees that eventually it's going to get to the point where the sandworms can't proliferate here.
Because it's poisonous.
Spice can't be made here.
He gets to the origin of the worms because he
I didn't remember that it took us this far into the third book of the series to see that. Like, I guess because I read the series before and I knew that, I just felt like we always knew that. Like, you always knew that the sand trout made the worms, kept the water from the worms. Like, I feel like we always knew the cycle.
I think there's something in
new knowledge.
Isn't there something in the first book, like maybe in the glossary, which means that like maybe nobody read it, where they like speculate about the?
It was speculation, but not.
Yeah, but
I think it was Leah Kynes talking.
But again, I think it was. Yeah, was it Kynes like directly in a chapter, or was it just in like the glossary where they do it? Because that's the thing.
Briefly, that the sand trout were part of the ecosystem, but didn't ever explain.
It's still vague, though.
Really?
It is vague, though. I think, to your point, like I think it is still vague. Like we're not sure.
So then they knew from the first book, they knew where spice came from because they knew about the spice masses and the spice blows. So they knew that the sand trout had a hand in making the spice, but I guess they didn't know that the worms came from the sand trout. Is that a correct understanding?
I thought the spice came from the worms, not from the trout.
Spice. The spice comes from the sand trout when they mix with water underground, and then it becomes a pre-spice blow, and then when it blows, it becomes a spice mass on the surface. The like concentrated spice melange comes from the worms when they die in water.
The worms,
that's the poison stuff that the Reverend Mothers fuck with. But just regular ass spice comes from the desert and the sand trout. That's my understanding.
They drink.
Yeah, I think it is confusing. I mean, I've like This is probably the thing I've gone over the most with this whole thing, and I'm like, do I get it? Like, could I David Attenborough this for like Planet Arrakis, the documentary, or would I just totally screw it up?
Wiki that probably hundreds of times in my life,
totally.
trying to explain it to someone. I'm like, the trout and the sand. I'm like, hold on.
Yeah.
So Denis Villeneuve, if you're watching this, for one of the extras, can you get a Planet Arrakis David Attenborough documentary about the ecosystem?
Yeah, can you do that?
I think that would be great extra. I'm just throwing it out there. I already know they're selling the Steelbook 4K discs at Best Buy pre-order for that. I just saw that and I'll be pre-ordering soon.
December 3rd it comes out? December 4th?
I don't think it's that soon. Is it?
I think that's just digitally then.
Okay.
Oh, maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I saw it comes with a pain box too. One version, like there's like a pain box that you put your hand in.
Because that's what I need in my life.
Yeah.
More pain.
I'm sure it'll be Amazon. This is what it's like to work in our warehouses.
Yeah. That's basically how I picture it. It's a Reverend Mother with a gum bar to your neck, and your hand is sorting toilet paper and John Grisham books. You know, like whatever.
So the next chapter starts with Alia, and we learn that she can't see the future anymore.
Yeah, that sucks.
And boy, she's pounding that spice. She's like, I got to get the twins to do this because I can't see no more.
Right.
And the twins in the last chapter, like, we're just gonna keep delaying because we don't want to do this.
Is that ever explained that like it's because they have prescience that she doesn't now, or is it just she's taken too much spice and it doesn't, like she has a tolerance for the spice now?
I almost felt like once Paul went away and the twins were born, everybody lost their prescience.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's when Paul lost his.
I could be misremembering, but when I read that, I thought that she hadn't been prescient since Paul died.
Yeah, I think that's how I understood it too.
And remember, the Dune Tarot interrupts with everybody's prescience.
But I thought there was a mention of her tolerance as well, though, Jen. I think to your point, like that she's, like we were saying, she's out here like
more and more.
She's doing Jaeger. She's doing Jaeger spice shots every night.
She's basically got a table of spice like Scarface.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's.
Say hello to my little gumja bar.
Yeah. First we get the spice, then we get the Fedaykin, then we get the power.
And like there's also the interesting thing of Gurney Halleck would be with her ever the devoted servant, the hired killer of ugly men. Loyal and straightforward, a musician who played murder with a slip tip. That sounds double entendre.
For sure.
Or entertained with equal ease upon his 9-string balisette. Some said he'd become her mother's lover.
Yeah, I love
we
this
all
little
know.
nugget. Yeah.
Hey.
He's good with his fingers. That would be a thing to ferret out. It might prove a most valuable leverage. Then she's like, Leto must be lured into the spice trance. And then she recalled asking the boy how he would deal with Gurney. And Leto, sensing undercurrents in her question, said, Halleck is loyal to a fault, adding, he adored my father?
Right. He almost says himself, right? Doesn't he? Is that where he like almost slips into like, meet my dad?
He almost says me.
Yeah.
This is weird.
And then they're like, what would happen if Gurney realized we're Harkonnens?
I think.
Oh, yeah, that.
Through this whole section of the book, it's like, what would anyone do if they realized we're Harkonnens? Like,
well, and isn't it interesting too, like how like the most powerful people in the universe are like so concerned about rumors and just the weird, like it's like like, do you really need to worry about this if you just pull back for 1 second and think about like your position and what you can, but that's also fascinating because I think that like powerful people really are that paranoid, and that's why they do dumb shit and then like screw themselves over, and also screw people that count on them over, and like their country over. Like that just happens all the time, and like this gets into that psyche a little bit, right? Of like, you're so powerful, but you're like, what if they find out that like we're bad people related or whatever, and
I feel like that's very Games of Thronesy and very like I think about Cersei and Jaime Lannister, where it's like with that whole incest thing, where it's like, you know, they don't want anyone to find out that like Joffrey isn't Robert Baratheon's son, but then by the, you know, middle of the series of the books, it's like Cersei is, you know, a queen, could easily kill anyone she wanted, and like just lean into it at this point, Cersei.
But you get enough of those. But you do, if you know, on the other side of that though, if you do get enough people with rocks that are angry at you, you're fucked.
Also, Alia has a moment of resentment here where she was like, Jessica left me to be born after she became addicted to the spice, and now they don't want me, now they fear me, and with good reason.
Yeah, I mean, she's had a rough go of it. Like,
totally.
I don't know if any of us would be doing any better than Alia if we were put in her position. She's so tragic. I really do feel for her.
Oh yeah, she's a very cool character.
Yeah.
I think her arc is compelling, like very compelling.
Oh yeah. I love the tragic arc. I love the person that's like, you could have been, you know, what, you know.
Well, it's kind of like Duke Leto.
So
like
great.
He's so duty bound that he knows he's getting set up, but he knows if he turns it down, he fucks himself.
Yeah. I mean, to go back to
he's fucked.
Yeah, to go back to the Game of Thrones thing, right? Like he's Eddard, right? I mean, he's like, oh, gotta follow the rules and be a good boy, and now I'm dead. It's like, but you could have like saved your people if you just made like one different choice. You know.
The next chapter starts with Jen's favorite thing. Laser tigers.
Laser tigers.
Laser tigers.
So I was listening to the audiobook and not reading it, and it totally reads as laser tigers.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, there's some laser tigers in this book. What? And then reading it, it's Laza. Laza.
Well, I read it. I always read it as Laza, but
so they're training these cats to kill children that look like twins. It is Irulan's sister.
Yeah, in specific robes, right? Yeah. Yes. Wencesia.
Some weird ass.
I believe
name.
that, or I think it's Wencesia. I can't remember.
Since we're in the holiday season, I kind of read it as like a riff on Wenceslas, maybe. I don't know. I have no evidence behind that.
I don't know what that word that you just said is.
King Wenceslas. It's a Christmas carol about a king that was supposedly good, but actually was pretty anti-Semitic, so he's not so good. Actually, if you actually read history, yeah, fuck that guy. He's the worst.
The next chapter, Lady Jessica finally arrives on Arrakis, and she's like wearing her habit, and she's like, "I look like shit. This has been a long journey."
Yeah.
Why am I here?
She's like chain smoking, like, oh god.
I love that she's just like, I'm just not looking my best. And they talk about silver flecked copper hair now, so like she's
getting up there.
Getting to her next
Alia's
final
24
form.
now.
I bet she looks great.
Oh, Paul was not that I'm biased. When Alia was born, so
she's doing the whole Hera thing where she's like, I'm still young. I'm still young.
Yeah.
Someone marry me.
Yeah. And on the double entendre thing, she's like, once more into the dragon's mouth.
Whoa.
I'm glad Jessica's back.
Yeah, I love Jessica. I know I missed her that whole time in the last book. Yeah.
We love Jessica.
But yeah, so like she gets there and like they arrest a bunch of people right away. Mm-hmm. Like Gurney and Stilgar had a whole plan in effect, which I love that they're still bros.
Boys, the boys are back in town. That's how I felt about that.
And like, what was it? Stilgar is just like, it's already done, my lady. Gurney's men and I planned this together. She's like, those were your men? Then the ones who helped? Some of them, my lady. And like, she read the Hidden Reservations nod. You studied me pretty well in the old days still. He's like, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I think this continues our still is thirsty for Jessica. Like just
he's in love with her.
He's totally in love, yeah.
And it's totally understood.
Mike Spiegel in this bitch.
The minute she beat his ass in the desert, he was like, I would try to take you as my wife, but I know.
Straight up. He's like, I love the kind of woman that'll kick my ass.
And Alia's like, how dare you take action without me? And it's just like,
I know, she's being such a brat. Like, I love her, but she's being terrible.
Jessica's like, oh, Gurney didn't even tell me the whole plan, so like, I don't know, like.
And also, Jessica immediately, like from up on her parapet, whatever the fuck, she's getting out of the spaceship. I don't know. She's up somewhere, and she sees Alia.
Puts her hands
in
up.
the crowd, looking up, and she's like, "That bitch is an abomination."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
From 50 paces.
Mom.
And Alia's like, and you still go, who are you loyal to? And he goes, I'm loyal to the kids.
A good guy still got.
Except he thought about killing him.
But
whatever.
He didn't.
But who hasn't thought about killing a child?
Who hasn't thought about killing
you been on public
members of their family?
And Jessica has like a thing where like Irulan permitted herself to a faint nod. She observed the interchange between Jessica and Alia. And Jessica's like, you know, I hate the fact that she still looks pretty.
I don't, I've never had obviously a mother-daughter dynamic, and I just wonder if this dynamic is a thing that exists, because I see it in lots of popular culture, like this is written, this kind of relationship is written in different ways, and I'm always like, wow, that seems rough. To have all these layers of like patriarchy like piling on top of you that create these things, but then also just your family relationships creating these things is just a real mess.
I just love that Jessica sees her.
I'm sorry.
Like Jessica's reading all these people and she's like, she's still like haughty and like still looks very princessly. Like after all these years, it's like she left for the sisterhood for the same reason I left, love. And I'm just like, like I don't know, like the whole thing with Irulan, like I don't think she was in love at first.
No.
Like it was duty.
Yeah. That, and I think that it maybe not necessarily in the same way that all of the Atreides are like, we're loyal and we do what we need to do. But I think that she knew that was just what was expected of her. And
yeah.
I don't know. I honestly thought that little bit of just like, oh, and now I realize that I love him. Now that he's dead, I will raise his children.
Yeah.
Like
wailing for days.
Like what are
wailing
you
for
doing?
days.
Yeah. Totally.
like she literally poisoned Chani.
She's the reason Chani died. She's the reason Chani died.
But kept her alive longer, apparently, according to Paul.
That's what,
okay. No.
Well, yeah, Paul is probably wrong.
No, let's fucking assess this. So Paul said that he kept her alive, that Irulan kept Chani alive longer. The implication in that being because childbirth was delayed for so long because of the contraceptive that Irulan gave her, she caused her to live so long because Chani would have died in childbirth. But the only reason Chani's going to die in childbirth is because Irulan gave her that fucking fucked up contraceptive for like 20 years.
Yeah.
No, totally. But also
Paul's just wrong.
Right, and that's classic Paul, because Paul is in the prescience trap. And so he's like, to Paul, he's right because he can only think in terms of, but I saw it happen, so it's going to happen. But you're right, Sid, because if he had just done one thing, it wouldn't have happened and he would be fine. And now he'd be hanging with Chani and it'd be cool. But but he's a friggin' sad boy idiot.
Yeah.
But he's also God.
Desert cryptid.
Yeah, exactly.
Who, granted, is a much more compelling character than Paul was in Messiah.
Sure, yeah.
I'm fed up with him.
Jessica has the line of the book in this where she gets out and sees like the whole like temple and everything. She's like, this place has got to go. And her assessment of Princess Irulan, hiding her savagery in that seductive body with its cap of golden hair exposed by a vagrant breeze. Irulan seemed to not have aged a day. It was an affront.
Like, how dare she?
No, I mean, seriously. How dare you?
Why you hot?
Yeah.
Like, literally. And thus my love of Irulan.
I do feel I would like a perspective on this because like this is a man writing this, and like I'm not saying this doesn't exist, but it just seems like men like to create this in fiction, and I gotta wonder, like, is this healthy? Should we just maybe ask one woman once? Yeah. Is this okay? Maybe
the only thing I could say is like he went to a reunion with his wife, and she saw somebody from high school. Is like, oh, look at that bitch. She hasn't aged a day.
Right. That's what he did. He is like, oh yeah, that's how they are all the time, right? It's like, well, yeah, we're the worst.
Yeah, Jessica's like all business in this chapter, which I love. Yeah. Like, she's not fucking around.
She came here to do work. She's got shit to do.
Yeah. Yeah, she's got to handle it.
What did she say? Priestly nonsense? And they were like,
I love that. Yeah, she's just like, this is all so stupid. What are you doing?
She's like, must I?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck did my son do?
She's like, I'm over it.
It's the biggest eye roll of all time. Like,
Leto's playing the balisette in the beginning of the next chapter.
Oh my god, so cute.
Yeah, he has kind of a riff on nostalgia here that I liked about, like the danger of it and how it can be a trap and things like that.
And it's like, I don't really know how to play. I just know from these ancestral memories.
Right, yeah.
I'm no Gurney Halleck.
He's the guy in the quad that learned how to play Plush by Stone Temple Pilots and just plays it for half an hour a day.
I love
it. Was like, anyway, here's Wonderwall.
Yeah. I love that part though, because this talks about that, like, being able to like see and hear those past lives, because he's talking about like, I really don't know how to play, but like some of my past lives know how to play. So if I just succumb, and if like I remove myself and I don't play, but I let these other past lives play, then I'm a much better player. I actually loved that. Like, I thought that was kind of poetic.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
They also talk about why they're not succumbing to the possession. And they're like, well, we just ride the wave and we don't fight it.
Yeah, they surf, they don't dive.
Yeah, yeah. And I felt that was an interesting way to describe it, that they're just basically riding the current and they're not trying to swim against it, where Alia is dug in.
And once again, I have to point out, they have each other, because in this chapter, when they played parents or whatever they call it, where Leto let Paul take over.
We got to spend a good chunk of time on that.
Let Chani take over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They were vibing. Chani didn't want to leave.
Nope.
And Ganima was fighting it, but it took Leto also being like, Mom, get the fuck out of there, for her to, finally fuck off. And it took Paul being
he had to use the voice, right?
I'll disown you. Yeah. He was like, I won't love you anymore if you take over our daughter's body.
Yeah.
Which
also, Leto talks about he's struggling with the fight against the personalities, but it's like at nightfall, it's always the hardest, which I found was interesting.
It's like a sundown
stuff. Yeah.
Whoa, dark, extra dark.
And like he goes, I stand between fish and worm, and I was like,
yeah, right.
Yep.
Message.
Perfect. Foreshadowing and making a good analogy.
Yes,
all in one
and this is where he tells the history of the sand trout, that he learned that they were brought to that ecosystem, and it used to be a green planet, and the sand trout fucking devoured it all.
Right, they're an
and this used to be, and this was the Fremen's fifth planet?
Yeah, I think they said
that they came to.
That sounds right.
Sorry, that was my alarm because the BTS concert is starting.
Oh.
So I love you guys that I'm staying on the stream.
Thank you.
BTS play.
Don't shed your waters for them.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'll find a video.
And like, I guess like Ganima's like, why are you obsessed with sand trout all of a sudden? Like, why is this a
thing? You have no idea.
And we also find out they put predators in the water on the planet to keep the sand trout out of their water supply.
I love that. I love natural pest control.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, they're like, let's put some piranhas in there. It's fine.
Yeah, I like that imagining like instead of like a koi pond, you have like a piranha cistern.
Vicious desert fish.
Yeah.
I would love to see them.
Yeah. So cool.
Hello, Carlito. Thank you for joining
Carlito.
us on this. He was on our Dune 2021 movie review. He's my co-host on Celluloid and Scotch. And he has started reading the books now after the movie.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. Welcome.
Also, he is a
love.
COVID survivor now.
Whew.
Nice.
Oh, good.
Congratulations.
Good.
That's all right. We're going to be talking about some veiled incest soon, so please go ahead.
Get the fuck out of this stream.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not even veiled. So Ganova,
not much is veiled.
Sees her brother trembling, and she's like, "What the fuck have you done?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, more foreshadowing.
And he was like, fewer sand trout, the ecological transformation of the planet. And she's like, they resist it. He's like, when the sand trout go, so do all the worms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I still can't believe it took us 3 books and like 3 generations of Atreides for someone to come to this conclusion. Like,
yeah.
I think it took Frank Herbert that long. He's like, how the hell do we get spice?
Yeah. Yep.
He spent like, 3 books terraforming the planet. Then he was like, shit.
Well, if you make a planet covered with drugs and worms, you got to figure out how that all makes sense, and that probably takes some workshopping.
And he flatly goes like, she goes, no more spice, and he goes, it's the thing Alia knows. It's why she gloats. And she's like, how can you be sure? And he's like, oh, I know. Which, I know. He's kind of a creepy fucking kid. Like, he's the Sixth Sense kid.
Yeah, see? But he's the kid.
Maybe a little bit more Damian Wayne, though, because he's such a little snarky little jackass.
Mm-hmm. I feel like he's like almost like boss baby-ish. Like, he's just kind of like, I'm smarter than you. But he's not like quite... He's not always undermining you, like, overtly. More like, I'm so smart. Let me give you the treatise on the ecology of Arrakis.
Oh my god.
From a 9-year-old.
He was like, well, we got to tell the tribes. And she's like, Ganama's like, I don't know if they'll believe us if she talks to them. And she's like, we got to convince Stilgar.
Mm-hmm.
Stilgar.
Such an OG.
Big Stilgar energy. He's got it. Like,
yeah, totally. It's also, just not to get too dark with this, but this is also very much like young children like reading about climate change, trying to tell like grown-ups like, hey, maybe don't do all of this, and they're like, shut up, kid.
Yeah,
you're just a kid. But the kid's right, that's the thing. Like sometimes the kids are right about things.
And Greta Thunberg,
he's Greta Thunberg.
Just, basically just going like, you have failed us.
Yeah.
Leto starts talking about his dreams also.
Mm-hmm.
That he knew that grandmother was going to be delayed, and Ganama's like, Leto, it came later for our father. Don't you think it might be? He's like, I dream myself enclosed in armor and racing across the dunes in Jakarutu. Mm-hmm. That word's going to come up many fucking times later in this book.
And the bit about his dreams is what he was hesitant to tell her, right?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because prescient dreams is like kind of a big deal.
I must find this man they call the preacher. I must find him and question him. And she's like, you think he's our father?
Favorite character, by the way.
Sure. Oh yeah, the preacher's... I love... So I just want to say one thing about the preacher and when they reference him here, because they immediately are like, do you think he's Paul? And they're like, I don't know. Because it really gives me the vibes of like when Luke is watching the little holocron of Leia and she's like, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and she's like, do you think she means old Ben Kenobi? And you're just like, I don't know. Is Kenobi like Smith or Muhammad or Kim? Like, is that like the kind of name? Like, probably Weirdo in the Desert with Prescient Dreams. That's blind.
Like,
he also
right. How many blind Fremen have you ever seen in your life?
Exactly.
Kids?
Yeah. It's an easy.
Let's consider the possibility.
Also, more foreshadowing. Leto going, I don't like the things I know I'll do. For the first time in my life, I understand my father. And I was like, ooh. Could be a throwaway line if you haven't read ahead.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So do we collectively think that Leto, at this point in the book, at the beginning of the book, knows that he's going to do that?
He knows it's an option because he's still considering the golden path.
I think it's also maybe a question of like, because I still maybe this is just me, but I still sort of struggle with the I guess the fidelity of prescience, right? Of like is it a vague, like in the movie they're kind of showing you these like swoosh swooshy like foggy things. It's not like he's getting like a teletype of like this is what's going to happen. It's not like in Loki where they're like this is everything you ever said and then something pops out when he says something else. It's not like a detailed accounting of the future, but it's a like this is the trajectory of the future. So maybe.
My understanding of it has always been like it's branching paths, but like so let's take the example of like in the Dune movie when Paul's powers first get awakened and they're fleeing from the Harkonnens and they're trying to join the Fremen and like they're making these decisions all the time that could make or break them. So the paths are like branching like crazy. It's like I don't know what's gonna happen. I can't. Too many visions I can't understand. But then like at the end of Messiah, when like after he had the dream of the moon falling, the only shit he was concerned with was Chani.
Right.
That's it. But in that situation, because she had already been given that contraceptive and he had already knocked her up, there was no other path, like there was nothing that could be done to save Chani. So he just kept walking that same path, like waiting for it to branch off, and it never did because there was like no decisions that could be made that would change that. So I feel like the prescience is like visibly different depending on like where that person is in their life and like what's going on. Like if you're in like a tumultuous time, it's probably crazy. There's all kinds of shit that could unfold. But if you're Paul's dumbass in Messiah,
and I think
kind of pointless because you're just walking the same fucking path.
Right, totally.
You can't do anything.
And I think that there's like a little bit of truth to some of the prescience as well, like thinking about the movie and how there's a part where they're in the desert and Jameis specifically says to Paul in the movie, I'm going to show you the ways of the desert, like something along those lines.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so we know if you've watched the movie, spoiler alert, like
they look like they're going to be bros.
Yeah,
right.
That does not happen. Yeah. So I think that there's like some truth to it, but it's more of like a copy of a copy of a fax of a copy. Like there's some truth to it, but it's been distorted a little bit.
And it does still require like interpretation then because of that,
I also feel bad for anybody who's at the theater with me for the sequel who's going to hear me start going, please don't start with the Jamis is my friend speech. Please don't god damn it.
I think that's where they're going to start.
I love that.
Doesn't give water to the dead.
I gave water when I read that. I like having feelings when I read a book.
Watching that TV movie fucked me up with that scene forever because it was so badly read.
Well, there you go. You said 7 things in there that make it why.
The biblical references in this, just what we read, are fucking out of control.
Yeah, because the twins are... riding that wave of all their ancestral knowledge. So they're speaking in ancient tongues and using ancient analogies.
Do we know what language that is?
They don't.
We know some of
ancient
them.
language.
There's one.
Sometimes.
I think they can also mention Egyptian.
Yeah, they mention Egypt when they're speaking at one point. Yeah, so maybe it is just a mix of things. Maybe
that's going to come back.
They spoke in French one time. They've
that's right.
spoken some things I didn't recognize a few times. They're just.
But they start talking about if the preacher is actually their dad.
Yeah.
And
maybe he's old Ben Kenobi.
John was like, well, maybe he's just some old mystic. And Leto's like, I pray for that. Oh, how I pray for that. I hope he's Gabriel without a horn.
Yeah. Super biblical reference there.
Yeah, like, it's interesting. And then, Gurney, next chapters, just start with the hand signals, the battle language.
Oh, yeah. Again, they like frantic, like whatever.
I love seeing that in the movie.
That was so cool. Yeah, that was great.
Many of the people they took were Alia's people.
My cat's sick, so she came to sit with me.
Oh, the kitty.
Yeah, she's been throwing up.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about Jackarutu that they've drugged. It's a very short chapter. It was like 2 people, and they were conditioned that their heart stopped when they talked about Jackarutu.
Yeah, right.
Right, but what was the lore that the Fremen know about that place?
Oh, well, they don't
think stealers of water.
Yeah, they're
stealers of water, meaning people's water.
Yeah, they would just take people and just steal their water. They were basically pirates. Yeah,
Pirates.
yeah.
They were basically committing genocide against other Fremen.
Okay. Bad pirates.
So they were basically expunged into the deep, deep desert that even the Fremen wouldn't go.
The deep, deep desert.
And then Jessica's like doing the finger stuff. She's like, Javid hates the Atreides. I doubt anyone but an adept could detect it, but I'm positive of it. He conspires, and Alia doesn't know it.
Jessica's on her game.
Oh yeah. She's taking anything by her.
My bitch has not lost anything with age. She showed up on this planet and she was like, this motherfucker has a grudge. I need him to work for me. You work for me now.
Yeah.
The preacher comes to town in Alia's temple.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just like...
Blasphemy!
Yes!
Yeah. All of this.
I bring the hand of God, and that is all I bring.
Yeah.
I speak for the hand of God, and I am the preacher.
That's messed up too. Like when he's just carrying around a hand like that.
A shriveled desert.
And so he had to go get a hand
that was fisted,
so that he could be like, "This is not me's hand. Not me's hand." Yeah.
I mean, the drama.
Is
canonically Paul.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Am I the
theatrics?
drama? Is that TikTok?
Am I the villain?
Am I the drama?
I
can't be the drama. I'm the drama.
Basically, he's become the dude from Powerpuff Girls at this point. He's like walking in.
Jojo? Oh, him.
Yeah.
No, because that's Piter.
Well,
fist of God.
Piter's the drama Boba Fett that we never, he's so dastardly, and then whoosh, you're done, you're out, it's over. But Piter.
Yeah. It's funny the things that did get pretty much entirely cut out of the movie, and one of them is just Piter completely.
Yeah. Well, I think even in the book, he kind of doesn't get all of what he could get. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm kind of the movie definitely, but the books even but Piter's he's supposed to be so scary and weird and
in the book he was a really big part of House Harkonnen.
I wanted in the movie the whole thing with the Baron going, I need to kill this motherfucker.
Right, yeah.
Starting to get a little too...
There was more of that. I guess maybe I just liked him more than I should have. Maybe that's why I want more Piter. Maybe that's a problem with me. Why do you like Piter so much, dude?
I liked him as a character.
Yeah, I like him as a character.
Characters that we should
as a character, just as a character. I'm not saying he's not a role model. I'm not saying I'm not trying to study to be a insane mentat.
We have Laza tigers again.
Laza tigers.
I like Laza.
More of Wensicia or whatever, however you want to pronounce her name.
Winchestia?
And her son Faradin, we find out who she wants to get back on the throne because she feels that's what he deserves.
Faradin is the grandson of Shaddam.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or Phaedra Redux, if you want to
bring
it back to not a Harkonnen, but
he's Gen Z Phaedra.
Yeah, exactly.
For the new generation.
Yeah.
The Bashar of the
Phaedra Zero.
Of the Sardaukar here, he's like, so you're gonna kill this dude. You want me to just fall on my knife too? She's like, no, I kinda need you. And she's like
I love this guy, by the way.
Yeah.
He's very matter of fact. He's like,
totally.
He's like, that was a good soldier. Do you want to
you know how hard it is to come by people? She's like, we're just gonna kill them all, whatever. The tigers ate him, and they literally say the tiger put him in its mouth, broke his spine, rattling him around,
snapped.
I mean, a tiger doesn't fuck around. I'm sure that these fucking genetically modified RC powered tigers are
totally.
no less terrifying.
He's got like, is this the one that has the keyboard?
Yeah,
got like a keyboard.
Yeah, there's a little key. Yeah. Don't they?
Isn't this
where
better from?
Is this the part
where
they where like the tiger like kills, and then they also like he writes down that the tiger is like taking a poop, right? Like there's a part. It's either there or another part where he's like, and that while the tigers were finishing their toilet.
Yes, they were cleaning their toilet or something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
And you're like, Jesus Christ. Okay. Like,
I remember catching at the use of the word toilet and being like, this must be the way that people use toilet, how they used to use it, just meaning like grooming.
Yeah.
Like they're finishing their grooming. I was like, surely they mean grooming, and I think
you meant pooping, but whatever. I mean, maybe. Cats do that. I mean,
they like scratched.
Yeah.
The next chapter, I love this meeting of Ghanima and Jessica, where Jessica's just like, I'm going to tell you something, even though I know my telling will remind you of many experiences from Rachel past, and this will place you in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
She pauses to see how Ghanima's taking it. She's like, and she's like just staring at her. She's like, started doing the litany, and Ghanima's like, I know you're doing the litany. And she's like,
yeah, right.
That shit's helpful, ain't it?
Yeah. I will recite it to you from your own experiences.
And Jessica's like, God damn it, she can read me. Fuck. All right, well, I'm just going to dump this shit.
To Jessica's credit, Jessica's immediately like, you're cool. I'm not going to you're fine. You pass.
Yeah.
You pass.
Grandma and granddaughter get along.
Yeah,
cool.
they're
cool. They're like, why couldn't you have been my daughter?
Jessica's like, I'll let you see my fear right now. And Ghanima goes, well, now I know you love me. And they're like unspoken bond, like that they're. And she's like, when your father was but a boy, I brought a reverend mother to Caladan. She starts talking about the test, and she's like, yeah, like, I felt it. I know it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah, you've heard of animals chewing off a leg to escape a trap. And she's like, yeah, I have.
Yep, that's the thing.
Yep. I was there.
And Jessica's like, oh, yeah, of course you can remember this in a way I can't. It would be stupid to repeat this test, so yes.
Yeah,
right. Like,
you're good.
Yeah. No need for that.
We wouldn't have time.
You read the cliff notes. That's fine. I don't care. I don't need to quiz you on this.
Good enough.
Yeah.
But she's like, you're human. I trust my instinct on this. She's like, but you're not sure of Leto. And she's like, I'm not. Abomination.
Just like
shrug emoji.
Like, I'm not ruling it out.
And she's like, so you realize Alia, and she's like, yeah. You sure about your brother? She's like, yeah, I am. She's like, okay, well, good, okay. She's like, how is it you escaped? She's like, oh yeah, we haven't done the spice trance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, say no to drugs.
Yeah. She's like, Mom, I'm sure you never considered this as an option, but
yeah,
we didn't do any drugs.
Maybe don't do powerful, deadly hallucinogens that destroy your connection to reality.
Drink the water of life and convert the poison into sex drug.
Yeah, Molly plus mushrooms.
And aphrodisiac.
While you're pregnant. Oh yeah, there you go, aphrodisiac.
Jessica also says, I should have never left here. I was a coward. Which for her,
real moment of candor. Again, she didn't say that to Alia though. She said that to her granddaughter.
Well, so from Jessica's perspective, Alia is off the fucking rails.
Well, true.
Like I think it's in this chapter. Jessica has a moment of being like, I can at the same time mourn for the loss of my daughter and recognize that she's a monster now.
Yeah, like, she's almost treating her like she's like gone, like dead.
Yeah,
in a way.
like
I
mean.
Ghanima has such
intents and purposes, that's kind of not Alia anymore.
Yeah.
There's a part where Jessica's like, so is Alia drugging him? And Ghanima goes, no. But he has this odd empathy for her. In his sleep, he often mutters Jackarutu. I was like, oh boy, this is gonna keep coming up.
That's a word.
And Jessica goes, oh, that again.
I wonder if it's because Leto seems to edge more towards like the Atreides men, obviously like Paul, and he mentions the old Duke a few times, and Paul obviously, and Leto, her father, would have like a lot of affection for Alia, whereas Ganima tends to go with like Chani and Jessica's, you know, like ancestral memories or whatever, and both of them are more wary of like the abomination.
Right.
I do love that, like, Jessica's like, oh yeah, I sent Gurney to look for Jackaroo too, and Donnie's like, oh yeah, the smugglers, of course.
Right, because of his smuggler connection.
Because he's a smuggler guy.
Like, hot damn, girl.
Yeah. Well, he'll do anything I ask.
Jessica's got a line here too that I love. We are one life reaching out into a dark future. We are one blood.
Yeah.
She also was like, momentarily she felt herself sinking into the absolute and unswerving Bene Gesserit judgment, abomination. But there was a sweetness about this child, a willingness to sacrifice for a brother which she could not deny.
She's a good girl.
Yeah.
This next chapter is Alia basically giving in.
Yeah.
To the Baron.
Can I say too? Like I don't have any specific voices that I picture even since the movie in my head when I'm reading, and I mean partly that's just like a lot of people in this book aren't in the movie, but I definitely now I hear Stellan Skarsgård's voice.
Yeah.
When the Baron's talking.
Like, I've always heard Otho from Beetlejuice.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Who's
Otho,
that in Beetlejuice?
he was the paranormal, the heavier set guy from Beetlejuice.
He was like the assistant, right? Or something?
Sort of, yeah. Like when they were having the whole scene where they were doing Jump Up the Line during the dance. Okay, I believe you. Come on.
Oh.
Yes.
Black hair.
Yeah.
I've always pictured his voice where it's a little effeminate, but not like
Glenn
over the
Shaddix.
top. But he's just like, oh, Alia, let me take a little control, and I'm just gonna knife this motherfucker while you're banging him. Like, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Like,
so messed up with it.
It's a seduction.
Yeah, and I think that this one was one of my favorite chapters. Like favorite and least favorite, because it's really awkward, and like you see and hear Alia fighting against this wave of voices, or this like ocean of voices, and the Baron is one of many, and she can like hear him kind of like creeping behind some of the other ones, and then as soon as he takes over, most of the other ones kind of go away, and you almost like you hear her have this like sigh of relief whenever the Baron takes over, which is weird. And I feel like, I don't know, it's weird because you're like, she killed him.
Yeah.
But he wants to take over. Is it for revenge? I don't know.
He's and also hiding her too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he does. He kind of, I hope this isn't getting too much ahead, but like he has this whole thing about justice versus order in this, where he's like, decisions must be weighed only as to their merit in maintaining an orderly society. Past civilizations without number have foundered on the rocks of equal justice. So it's almost like she's maybe struggling with values that, I mean, she couldn't have necessarily gotten them directly, obviously, from her father because he was dead before she was born. But like, he's kind of like poisoning her mind with like his version of the Harkonnen version of like leadership, where she's sort of found her own kind of path in that of like this, this religious devotion and thing. But he's like, but also like you have like some of that ready to go, and order's better because it just keeps things going smoothly. So
yes,
I'll
it's
teach
your
you
duty
that.
to maintain order was the line he used.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Your brother's dead, a failure.
Yeah. When she's super vulnerable, like she's literally collapsed on a bench because she couldn't walk anymore because she was overwhelmed by this like cacophony of these ancestral voices all like vying for her attention and vying for control or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Baron fucking swoops in, snake in the grass, and offers her relief from that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be your protector.
Yeah, it's like a narcotic in a way, right?
Yeah.
Like she's struggling, she can't deal with like the reality that she's experiencing now, and she knows that the Baron isn't a good or trustworthy person, and she also knows that she shouldn't let these lives take control of her, but he made everyone else shut the fuck up.
Yeah, he made a deal with her.
Yeah,
right?
and that was the only like way for her to experience that silence.
He only wants 25% of the time.
Yeah, that's all he wants.
He wants a timeshare.
He that so quickly.
It's a nice.
He was talking to that girl for like 2 minutes before he had her convinced to go sleep with some random guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
he's running No, go ahead.
He was basically like, even the way he says it too, he's like, just let me have control some of the times, like whenever you are sleeping with your lover and you're like, your skin is pressed up against him, or like you feel your lover's touch, that's when I want to be there.
Arms.
Right.
Allow me to share your senses. He doesn't even say let me take control. He says like lend me your senses so I can experience a moment with your lover.
He's like clawing back mortality, basically.
It like sounds fairly innocent, except that it's really creepy.
Well, I mean, he's pulling it's a protection racket. He's like walking and saying, nice psyche you got there. Be ashamed if something happened to it. Yeah. You know, he's...
Be ashamed if you lost your damn mind, wouldn't it?
Yeah, he's like...
Don't you want to
Tony
sleep
Soprano.
with this guy?
Yeah. He's like, also, I too want to sleep with this guy, perhaps. Or whoever. Whoever.
Thousands of years of personalities, and he's the strongest dominant personality in there.
Right.
There's a couple moments in this chapter in particular where there's, I don't know how to say this lightly, I kept having to go back and look and be like, did Jessica die? Because she keeps saying like because she can only hear like her ancestors' voices, but she can hear her mother's in this whole like wave of people that she can hear, and she's like, my mother's not dead, and there's even I think a moment with Ganima and Leto where they're like, our mother isn't dead, but we can hear her voice, or we can like, I don't know.
Yeah, because
could it be echoes from the people involved with her?
All of their ancestors. It's just all of their ancestors, alive or dead. Like, being alive or dead doesn't change it at all, it seems. Right. So, like, Jessica's ancestry is something that they have access to.
Right. Through genetics. Genetic memory.
Holy shit, she's the only one that's not dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Gurney.
Yeah, it's her and Gurney. And well, Duncan.
Yeah, but Gurney's not in Atreides.
Duncan was
not
dead.
in Atreides either.
Yeah, right. Yeah, as far as Atreides, yeah.
Yeah.
The next chapter was indoctrination of this child.
Oh, right. Yeah, this is
like go knife these people so you could be a real jackaroo.
Yeah.
Right.
And it happens to be the kid who
he was
the cryptid preacher has been
guy.
using as his guide.
Yeah, his guy. Yeah. Yeah, this is where you get a little bit more insight into the lore of Jackarutu, right?
Yeah. To be fair, those people were tourists.
So so like,
do they deserve to live?
As someone who in Portland, like every time you see like a line around the block at Voodoo Donut, you're like, let's just take some of these people to the death still.
Yeah,
we don't need...
Like, would they be missed?
Yeah, like who cares? They paid a guide to get them to Voodoo Donut. Give me a break.
Right.
That's not worth $25.
They paid a guy to get to the desert. Like, you're gonna get pickpocketed, and when you're on Arrakis, you're gonna get pickpocketed for your water.
Yeah, you get death spilled.
Rose City Comic Con. Why is this happening?
Yeah. I just wanted to meet Sulu.
Oh no! Oh my!
Oh my!
Okay, yeah. So the kid.
You lost your water. Oh my!
The kid becomes a man.
Yeah, yes, I guess
I just happen to be sticking a knife into a brain.
The same way that I believe the same way Paul killed Fade Routher, right? Isn't that the same move in the jaw?
Without the drop in the.
Well, yeah, not as pro wrestling, but more like.
Now I want to put JR from WWE. My God, is that Stone Cold music?
Paul just comes out, woo!
And then the next chapter.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, this is
the creepiest fucking chapter.
Mm-hmm.
You guys think it's creepy? I think it's kind of sweet.
I think I'm a little bit more with you that it's like they sort of bounce off of creepy into sweet. Like they definitely hit creepy and like cut their head open.
It's very it's soundly in creepy territory for sure.
I feel like it resolves out of it though. I do feel like
they're going to play.
It's creepy there. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like bang their head on creepy, and then they're like, "Whoa, let's never do that again." Like,
this is the last time.
And Leto's like, I'm gonna try it alone if you don't help. And he's like shaming her into helping. And she's like, I'm more susceptible to possession. Like,
yeah.
Ganima's like, there's a reason the Bene Gesserit don't do this shit, Leto.
Right. He's like trying to get an addict to smoke meth with him or something. Like it's like maybe don't do that. It's still a bad idea.
Yeah.
Also, like summoning your mother and father and then going, we got bodies again.
Right, yeah.
That's our children.
This is the banging your head on the creepy.
I mean, what would you do?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
We have to get the Messiah first. We have to get the Messiah first, Bruno. And we all need to see Timothée Chalamet be as emo as fucking possible for an entire fucking movie.
Yeah, that'll be I will say, kind of getting back to like, I mean, yes, it is creepy, but I kind of appreciate how Frank Herbert is able to just like take the sort of the trajectory of his ideas and like say like, well, let me just deal with this, I guess, you know, and he's not like afraid of it. It's almost like anticipating like your weird question, and he's like, well, let's talk about it, and he puts it in there. You know what I mean? Like, I think I like that he does that.
How like they started the summoning?
Yeah.
Like it's obviously fucking weird. Like
super weird.
To us in reality, it's the fucking weirdest shit you can imagine. But I do feel like if you were one of these fucking kids that were fucking womb aware, you had memories going as far back as like the first humans that left Earth. So like generational memories of like millennia.
Yeah.
Like having your mom and dad possess you for 5 minutes and like having a peck on the cheek is like not that big of a deal. Like,
oh god, that was wholesome.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, this is fine actually. Like,
yeah.
Well, okay, like come behind me, put your hand around me, and hit yourself close, and then sing Mom's song.
Yeah.
Like
again.
Yeah.
It from a modern perspective, fucking weird.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you're, you know, space witches and godchildren, whatever.
If you're a third generation fucking space witch on a desert planet with fucking worm cocaine that powers space travel, like I think we're operating under different parameters.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they summon them possession, and Paul's like, oh, my last vision is yet to come to pass. You know what I saw? And she's like, did you walk into the desert to die? And he's like, it may be that I did, but that vision, would that not be a reason enough to stay alive, but blind? He's like, even so, where would you go? He's like, Jakarutu. And he's like, Muad'Dib, the hero, must be destroyed utterly. Otherwise, the children cannot bring us back from chaos. And she's like, the golden path? It's not a good vision. He's like, it's the only vision. And Alia has failed then utterly. You see the record of it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, your mother's returned too late. Could there not be another vision? He's like, no, beloved. Shit's gotta fall. And then, beloved, what's happening? Don't go yet. Chani, you must tell us, how do we avoid what has happened to Alia? And she starts saying the damn Baron has her, and then kind of drops out. And Paul's like, I gotta go. Like, I'm gonna will myself to leave you because I don't want to possess you. And Chani's like, I'm good. Like, hey guys, what's up?
I'm here to stay.
Johnny's like, being alive whips ass, actually.
Yeah, this is better.
Hey, that spiced coffee. I haven't had any in a while.
Can we go talk to the Baron? I hear he's hanging out in the Alia right now.
Yeah, really.
She's like, Stilgar's still around here somewhere, right?
He's got the right idea.
And he's like, leave. And she's like, no. He's like, Mom, I'm going to disown you. And she's like, well, no, like, I mean, are you going to become another Alia? And she's like, well, Ghanima accepted this, like,
right.
And he's just like, I'm going to disown you. And she's like, well, what? And he's like, my golden path. And she's like, your goddamn golden path?
Again with the golden path.
Yeah. Grandmother came back to guide our education and to see if we've been contaminated. Oh, boy. Like, there's a lot of back and forth. And then she finally, like, takes off. And Ghanima's like, never fucking again.
Yeah, never again.
I really appreciated the last sentence of this chapter, where Leto is like introspecting on all of this, and he says he found himself looking at his own hands, wondering if the dirt would cling. Like, yes. I really appreciated that because I think that there's a lot to it, and maybe like a little bit of foreshadowing, but then also thinking like, you know, I literally am like puppet mastering. I've got like my hand up my dad, like am I the puppet? Is my dad the puppet? Like, is a little bit of that going to stay on me, or am I really clearing all of that off, or is it more of like washing my hands of the like dirt and the filthiness of the plan and the golden path? So I don't know, I really like that last
the incest talk gets talked about quite a bit at the end of this, and also like there's also, well, they're gonna do the trial of possession. And they're like, well, that's kind of brutal. And he's like, yeah, but she's like, you sure we won't possess? Not if we create the golden path. And Ghanima goes, still doubtful. She goes, I'm not going to bear your kids, Leto. Like, just to let you know, this isn't happening.
Yeah.
Which, thank you for being very upfront about that.
Yeah,
because
like,
your brother's clearly in love with you.
Yeah. But I think he's just coldly like, maybe that's what we got to do. He's like, not again. I kind of feel like he's in a way clueless that because he's like hung up on his own. Like he's seeing so far ahead that he can't see what's in front of him. Which what's in front of him is incest. What's ahead of him is the golden path, and he's only concerned about and that's bad. That's like the wrong. Your vision is too broad. Or not broad's not the right word.
Like,
you know what I mean?
Maybe being able to like he can see the forest and he can see the tree and he can't distinguish the difference.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I do like that he replies to her going, sister mine, I love you more dearly than myself, but that is not the tender of my desires.
You're the one that brought it up though.
Right. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. He says that. That's why I kind of think like it's not he's not hankering the way that like Alia was thirsting for Duncan Idaho. But he's just like, maybe we got to do this. I don't know. I'm kind of a weirdo.
In the last book, though, who was it that was like, was it Jessica or who was it that was like, make those two have kids together? Like that was part of the.
Scytale
was basically saying like, well, maybe those two could, and like keep the bloodline pure.
Yeah. It was Paul and Alia, though.
Yeah, he's saying Paul and Alia.
Yes.
Alia.
So Ghanima immediately goes, all right, very well, then let's return to another argument before I join a grandmother. Knife slipped into Alia might settle our problems.
Right, yeah. Then he's just like, let's do that. Let's just
remember.
She's like,
but then think about it though. But then think about it though, kids. Like, if you kill Alia, she's always going to be there, because then she's just going to be in you.
Martyr. Yes.
Well, would she be? What do they have? Well, I guess because
ancestral,
Mm-hmm. So then she could work them like a hand puppet.
But is it your direct descendant, or would like an ant be in there? That's what I'm
because like bloodline.
Okay, so even ants but how far out does that branch? I wonder.
Well, because they can see all of the Bene Gesserit, right?
I guess that's true. Yeah, all the Bene Gesserit are in there. Yeah, that's right.
And she's already. We know that she's already in there, balls deep. So
yeah. So I guess that's Ooh,
the weirdest fucking.
It's a real landmine out there, minefield out there.
The weirdest fucking chapter in this book is when they bring the preacher to Seleucus Secundus.
Oh yeah, and he's got the thing on his face.
Yeah,
and he's got the thing on his face. That's this chapter, right? This next one.
Yes, And Faradin's just like, why the fuck are you here? Like,
and he's like, you brought me here to interpret your dreams, and that's what I'm doing, my dude.
Yeah. I know what it means, but I'm not telling you.
I'm not gonna tell you.
Yeah, Faradin's like, this was my dream, and he goes, okay, so what is he? He goes, I'm not gonna tell you. It's just like, what?
Sorry for disappearing, guys. My cat keeps getting sick.
Oh no, it's okay.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave. She's stressing me out. She's thrown up like 6 times.
Oh no.
My cat actually drank a whole bowl of water and puked this morning.
If she had only thrown up once or twice, I'm like, cats throw up all the time.
Yeah, it was like The Exorcist. Like, it was
it projectile?
Yeah,
yes, it kept going. It was like you drank a whole bowl of water too fast, and Bradford came in the living room right on the rug, sat there, looked at me, and goes, Wah!
Is that a power
and
move? They do that?
I just got home and I'm like staring at him going, what in the fuck?
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
That was his water jutsu.
Like, literally...
He was honoring you.
Like, if he pulled his paw up and did it, I would like, wow, water tribe.
You have a little hose in his paw, like SNL?
Like, it was an entire bowl of water that came out of his mouth.
Oh my God.
It was like he drank it too fast. He just walked in the living room, got right to the rug, and just goes, looked at me, and then just laid down. I was like, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
Oh.
So then I grabbed a towel, and then I had to get the rug washer and then bring that in just to suck up all the goddamn water.
Mm-hmm.
And he just sat there staring at me the whole time. I was like,
yes, father. Clean up my waist.
Well, I hope your Kit Kat feels better.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm just gonna try and cuddle her and make sure she's not throwing up any like blood or anything too alarming.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for joining
us.
Cheers.
I'll definitely be at the next one too. So
okay.
Sweet.
Now that you're all
to
caught
see
up.
Alia's descent into madness. Bye,
yes.
guys.
Bye. Okay, so like oh god, what do we call him? Not the prophet, the priest.
The preacher.
He's there, and like Faradin's like, I am not happy with this dude. Like, why the fuck is he here?
And they're basically like, well, can we just kill him? Like, no, we have a pact. Like, we basically have to get him back to Arrakis.
Give us Duncan, Idaho.
When he said he'll give him Duncan, Idaho, he can just do it with a wave of his hand. I think he's how he puts it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. How do we say TYE guy, his name?
I pronounce it like Titanic.
Okay, to Titanic. Okay.
Titanic. That's how in my
That's how I was saying it. Well, because you're listening to the audiobooks, I wondered if they said it.
Well, in some parts they call him Tayek, and then other parts they call him Tayekanic.
Yeah,
or
like Tayek's like the short
version.
With Tayek. Yeah, I like it. Okay.
It's like he's literally like, have a care when you speak. What is this weakness? And they're going back and forth, and it's just like, holy shit. And he's like, well, Duncan, Idaho's yours. Peace out. I'm going back to Arrakis.
Yeah, I do love that too, that he can like, I'm going to formulate this plan where they're going to zip me to Seleucus Secundus. I'm going to talk to this dumb kid and be like, I can interpret your dreams, but I'm not going to do it. But I can give you Duncan, Idaho. And then they're going to fly him all the way back to Arrakis.
And
like,
the final chapter has, I think, the best opening to the chapter. And he saw a vision of armor. The armor was not his own skin. It was stronger than plasteel. Nothing penetrated his armor, not knife or poison or sand. Not the dust of the desert or its desiccating heat. In his right hand, he carried the power to make the Coriolis storm, to shake the earth and erode it into nothing. His eyes were fixed upon the golden path, and in his left hand he carried the scepter of absolute mastery. And beyond the golden path, his eyes looked into eternity, which he knew to be the food of his soul and of his everlasting flesh.
It's cool.
From the Book of Ghanima.
Yeah.
Yes. Which weirdly not written by Irulan.
Yeah, she doesn't have a lot of work in this one.
I thought she'd be in this more. Like, my memories are so fucked up because of that goddamn TV movie.
Well, Oh, she's there all the time. She's just not saying anything.
So wait,
She's
this is the last
off camera.
This is the last chapter?
Yes, of our read.
Okay. I accidentally read an extra chapter then.
Oh, extra credit.
Yeah.
Nice.
There will be a quiz.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is the back and forth between Leto and Jessica, where it's the brattiness versus like, listen, motherfucker, I am not in the mood for your shit.
Yeah,
I'm gonna mute myself for a second. I will be right back.
Okay.
Got it.
You guys go ahead and talk, and I will
talk
be
amongst
listening.
yourselves.
Yeah, their back and forth is. I mean, it's similar to with Ganima. Like, is this where he says, this is the body of a child? But this is a child's body, no doubt. But I am not a child. Like, definitely, maybe taking a more firm sort of approach with her, like classic, like, pubescent boy. I do what I want, stomping his foot, kind of. But
this, like, I think that it was supposed to have echoes of that moment that Paul had with his mom in the tent, but. I don't know if it was like brattier or more, because obviously like back then Paul was still a child, like he was, or still a teenager, but now this is like an adult in a child's body. So he has the street cred to back it up, maybe, where like she understands, he's got a lot more of a chip on his shoulder. I don't know how to describe that, but
well, and also she's familiar with dealing with preborn kids at this point too. So it's kind of like maybe it's even a conversation that we never really got to see her have with the Alia, right? In a way, like her and Ganima. Yeah.
This was also really, really weird, and because there's moments in it where he not only is he saying like I'm an adult, but he's also saying things that Leto would say to her, where she's even mentioning like about there's like these kissing moments between her and Leto.
Oh yeah,
and
that's right.
He totally knows he boned her.
He totally like, and he's like, he even tells her that too. Like he tries to like say like, "Yo, mom, like I know how you like it."
Yes,
it's basically like what he's saying to her.
Yeah, that kind of gets back, like we talk about the weirdness of like channeling Paul and Chani at the same time, but then like sassing your grandma because you are channeling her husband.
Biting her lip.
Yeah, biting. That was what it was. The biting of the lip. He can tell those tells of that's weird.
The line at the beginning where he's like, "It'd be better for me never to become emperor." Oh, I don't imply that I've made my father's mistake and peered into the future with a glass of spice. I say this thing out of selfishness. My sister and I desperately need a time of freedom where we can learn to live with what we are.
Yeah. They're burdened with glorious purpose.
Terrible purpose.
Terrible purpose. Yeah.
They there is so much foreshadowing in these early chapters, much like in the first book, where it feels like Frank Herbert realized the mistakes he made in book 2, where he didn't seed anything. Because in the original Dune book, like he seeded so much stuff that came later. And this has echoes of that. And I know we talked about echoes quite a bit with his writing.
Well, yeah, I think he's doing it a lot. I mean, especially here, like Jen, like you were saying, and this echoing like Paul in the tent. It's Jessica once again dealing with this like super child that it's just like having a hard time, like, and that is kind of like, and I don't know, how intentional it is or not, but just the way Herbert's writing, kids dealing with being beyond powerful, right, in this way that you can't even really fathom, like, being gods, being messiahs, being whatever. It's just it's wild.
Jessica calls him out. She's like, "What are you, child, that you need time to learn about yourself?" And he like kind of thumped himself. He's like, "First, I'm not a child. Oh, this is a child's body, no doubt of that, but I am not a child."
Yeah, he's like,
yeah, like I've done adult things.
Yeah, which is actually relatable even if you aren't preborn. Like that's something you probably said at some point in your life.
I am a grown-up 11-and-a-half-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. Like
I'm almost 12.
Yeah,
he invokes the Duke and talks about her chewing her lip, and she's like, "Don't you dare taunt me, boy!
Don't do that." weird.
And he's like, "Oh, I'll taunt you, lady."
Yeah, grandma. That's your grand.
He's like, let me remind you, I've been to a siege orgy not long ago.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, that's right. He brings that up. Yeah.
And it was just like
orgies.
Weird. And he also, was it? Let me remind you of that siege orgy so long ago when the old Reverend Mother gave you her lives and her memories. She tuned herself to you and gave you that long chain of sausages. Each one person.
I read that. You know that I did not read. You know he's basically telling. You know that he's basically telling his mom, "I saw the train got run on you, Mom." That long line of sausages.
I mean,
yeah, that's exactly how I read it. We were just like, I saw you just taking it and taking it and taking it.
Again,
I felt of intent, every moment of it.
Regardless of intent, it's hard to not read it that way. I mean, really.
Frank knew.
I think he know. Yeah, I think he know. Like, I'd like another interview with somebody that's like, okay, we're gonna talk about the
Ryan. When he said long chain of sausages.
Okay, I'll get back in line and ask about that.
Yeah.
Hi, it's me again. It's
the
guy.
The 3 people in line with so
the guy that asked where the jizz went. You know the part in the sausages? Those really sausages? Are we talking Jimmy Dean? Or are we talking Jimmy Dean and Tom?
Or Dean's
what?
Jimmy.
And then he said, "Going, I want to talk about the filing cabinets. And did you have a large collection of them at the house?"
And he's like, "Thank God somebody's not talking about jizz and penises anymore."
But yeah, I read that whole thing, the long chain of sausages. I was like, listen, I don't have to try to go in the gutter for this. I know exactly where you're going with this. Yeah. You can't use that terminology with orgy and not tell me.
Yeah.
So Stilgar hit it.
I think everyone hit it.
Well, I mean, I think nobody knows what's up and down, I think, in that whole situation.
Like, because we had that question, like, oh, you know what? Like, no, Duncan was dead by the time that happened, and there was no Gola, so maybe she never hit it with Duncan. Because we talked about that in the last thing with the ancestral memories.
But we had suspicions that maybe before that, maybe she hooked up with Duncan.
I think that she has. I think that she has connections, and she could have totally gotten a Telaxu like Duncan Gola dildo.
Oh, probably
dildo Gola. Gola dildo.
Yeah, that probably only requires a snap of her
Duncan
fingers.
dildo.
Yeah. Duncan Dildo.
Duncan Dildo. Oh, God. There it is. We did it. Good job.
Jessica's like, so you're not a child. Okay. And he's like, I'm millions of years old. That requires adjustments which humans have never before been called upon to make. And she's like,
you know it.
All right. Like, that kind of sounds grandiose. And he's like, well, grandmother, are we abominations? Or are we the hope of the Atreides? She's like, where is your sister? Like, literally, she's like, I need to talk to.
I want to talk to her again. She was much better to talk to.
Yeah. She's not talking about like kissing me and biting my lip and stuff.
Yeah.
She doesn't know about the sausages yet.
She's not bringing up orgies.
And then he's like, right. What I observed yesterday is my affair. Why do you prattle about abomination? She's like, prattle, don't give me. Oh, she says that, and he goes, prattle, don't give me your Bene Gesserit can't, which I originally read that as something else because I was tired. And I was like, whoa. He's like, I'll feed it back to you word for word, right out of your own memories. I want more than the fluttering of your lips. I was like, that's...
Damn.
Yeah.
Who gives her the business right here?
Yeah.
She's like, what do you know my intentions? He's like, he sniffs. He's like... You needn't inquire whether I have made the mistake my father made. I have not looked outside our garden of time, at least not my seeking it out. Leave absolute knowledge of the future to those moments of deja vu, which any human may experience. I know the trap of prescience. My father's life tells me what I need to know about it. No, grandmother, to know the future absolutely is to be trapped into the future absolutely. It collapses time. Present becomes future. I require more freedom. You can't tell me what to do, Ma.
Right, yeah. So, but is he saying here too, like, so he seems to be saying, you know, because he was struggling with having prescient dreams. So he's kind of saying he doesn't want to.
He's not seeking it out.
Yeah, he's not going to seek out the same powers his father wielded. He has new ideas of powers that he can wield. Right. This is where he's sort of coming to that realization. And then they do foreshadow talking about the Bene Gesserits having that skill of like living thousands of years if they just sort of, because right, they're in total control of their bodies, right? So it makes sense.
But they're like afraid of it.
Yeah.
Like they're afraid of tapping into that.
Mm-hmm. And they're afraid because they think people will turn on them, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jessica bites her tongue. She's like, he's me. He's my beloved Leto. And she's like, no. Like, no.
Yeah, like, no, he's not.
No,
but he is.
Not.
And he starts talking as Leto to her at one point. And she's like, this fucking kid. Like, and he's like, who is a Harkonnen? Who is Beast Rabin? Any of us? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, and this is also where he sort of like threatens the like, oh, what if somebody found out, right? That's he says that here. And then she becomes afraid of like, oh, well, what does it matter if people do that? Like, that's what I mean. Like this paranoia, he's using that paranoia against her. And like, and it comes into play there. And then also like, again, with the like sort of living a thousands of years thing where like people will turn on you if they saw you not dying. There'd be all these old women not dying.
Mm-hmm.
And there'd be, Salem witch trials basically of these people, except they actually have powers. They are doing it.
Yeah.
But maybe,
and I think that's like, to your point where it's like, you're afraid of using the powers because people are going to turn against you. But if they turn against you, you've got your powers.
Right. Yeah.
He straight up tells her, he's like, what if the Duke possessed me? What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, Leto? Like, and he's like, she's like, what do you want of me? And he's like, I would teach my grandmother. And she's like, teach me what? He's like, last night, Ghani and I played the mother-father roles almost to our own destruction. It was like, what? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. He's skeeving her out.
Like, literally.
Like, ooh.
And he's like, she's talking about Alia. He's like, grandmother, pity her. Use your heart as well as your intelligence. You've done that before. You pose a threat, and Alia wants the Imperium for her own, at least. The thing she has become wants this. Mm-hmm. And she's like, how do I know this isn't another abomination speak? She's like, that's where your heart comes in. Ghani and I know how she fell. It isn't easy to adjust the clamor of that inner multitude.
Mm. Well, that's an interesting foreshadowing too, right? Where he says, we know how she fell.
Yes.
Again, right? Yeah, that's, man, a lot of, did he like outline this more? I don't know. It just feels like there's a lot of stuff.
He goes Liam Neeson from Taken, who he's like, Alia is going to take you.
She has a certain set of skills.
Yeah, he's like, you're going to let her. And she's just like, I do not for a minute accept the abduction as part of it. He's like, starts yelling at her, and he uses the voice on her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wild. And then she's like, I never knew how it felt to have it used on you. And then she's like, I've used it on people so many times myself, and this sucks.
And he also starts saying, the whole Imperium, everybody thinks that you're here to breed us together.
Yeah. But you almost accidentally did yourself.
Yeah.
Oopsies.
But he's like, yeah, so Irulan's sister is going to have you taken, and this shit's going to happen, and you're going to teach Farad'n how your weirding ways.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts like trying to think. She's like, I don't like the trend of your thoughts. He's like, you don't understand my thoughts. Ghani and I, he shook his head. He's like, Alia had in her grasp and threw it away. Blah, blah, blah. Like, just. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, I already sent word to the Sisterhood that Alia practices the unthinkable. She's not aged a day since last night. He's like, oh, that? I'm speaking of something else. Perfection of being far beyond anything human has ever been achieved. I'm going to be immortal. Because what is it he says? You see, grandmother, I have difficult decisions to make. He said, do I follow the Atreides mystique? Do I live for my subjects and die for them? Or do I choose another course, one which would permit me to live thousands of years?
Yeah.
And again, foreshadowing.
Yeah, foreshadowing, and kind of revealing more about this Bene Gesserit's abilities. Kind of there's a lot of really good like showing, not telling, but still telling, but showing it. You know what I mean? Like it's a good interplay of that.
He gives her a time as a flat circle because she's
yeah,
like,
right.
You got to explain. He goes, how? Unless you understand that time isn't what it appears, I can't even begin to explain. My father suspected it. He stood at the edge of realization, but fell back. Now it's up to Ghani and me.
Mm-hmm. I was trying to kind of like go along with his like Brian Greene speech there, but then I was like, no, he's just kind of, it's too, the whole point of this is that it's beyond your comprehension, right? Like that's the idea.
And he's like, I'm going to achieve the perfection which is so far beyond other human experiences. More human than human.
Yeah.
Little Blade Runner in there.
Little Rob Zombie in there.
Yeah, little Rob.
Yeah, too.
I am an astro creep.
I'm waiting for him to do the Roy Batty speech.
Yeah.
I've seen battleships.
I've seen sea beams splitter off the shoulder of Orion.
Tears in the rain of Arrakis.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to kill you now.
Yeah, time to die.
Are they playing Rachel's song? Like what?
Yeah, whoa. Beep, 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 beep.
He's just like, my father came very near this. When he lived, but when he died, he failed to die. I was like, oh yeah, boy, like
he's right.
And she's
can't even die right, Dad.
She's like, what are you saying? He's like, show me his body. Do you think this preacher possible? But I don't know, no body. Like,
yeah, right. Again, like if you don't see the body,
he's basically become Charles Manson.
Kinda. I mean,
just out in the desert. I didn't kill nobody. I told people to kill people, but I didn't kill nobody.
Yeah, he definitely. Yeah, exactly.
And like he flat out tells Jessica to shut up.
Yeah, he's very rude to his grandma.
Yeah,
very rude to grand.
Like he's like, I know how blind. She's like, whoa, blind me? No, that is not me. And like, she calls him this unchild. Had been playing her like a fine instrument throughout this interview, where she's like, I just got played. Like,
yeah. No, she did. I mean, she did.
It was an interesting kind of like turnaround on her, where she was just like, whoa. I was supposed to be running this, and I got turned on me. This little fucking monster.
Right. Like she had a plan. She came here with a plan, and now this guy's like, oh, I have a plan, Grandma. And I'm going to totally turn her, and you're going to do what I say. And now you're going to be taken captive and yada, yada, yada. Yeah.
So, okay. So the place that the Bene Gesserit couldn't go was to their male descendants.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Kwisatz Haderach and these abominations can channel their male descendants.
And this is probably why. Because, like she even says, like, it's a place fearful to us women. And it's probably because the men know how that pipe gets laid.
So in my copy, it is us leaving off at 117.
Yeah, I think it's 102, our copy.
Yeah,
Jen.
102.
Yeah.
Did we want to do this every 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Sure. Let's do it.
So that way it gives us enough time to read, and we did like 100 pages. This is a 476 page book.
Woo.
Yeah. It's 408, I think, on our edition. So yeah, doing every 100 pages or so.
Yeah.
Or so 487. Yeah. So like then for us, the next part would be, I think,
maybe 216.
So 213 in mine would be almost exactly 100 pages.
What's the chapter that starts the second point? Is it Lecture to the Arakeen War College or Handbook of the Hajj?
So at 2:12 or 2:13, it is the commentaries. It is said of Muad'Dib that once when he saw a weed trying to grow between two rocks, he moved one of the rocks. Later, when the weed was seen to be flourishing, he covered it with the remaining rock and said that was his fate. But 221 would be the governments, if they endure, always tend increasingly.
Yeah, that's 190 for us.
190. Got it. I'm going. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to go with up to...
Well, do you want to go a little... Do you want to go to the... Because, the lecture...
The lecture...
Page 201 for us, that's in all major socializing forces, you will find an underlying movement.
Is that that's lecture to the Arakeen War College? Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, by the Princess Irulan.
There she is. That's our girl.
I can't find that in mine. A message to the sisterhood.
It's right after there's a handbook to the Hodge, and then there's the next one is lecture to the Arakeen War College.
The preacher at Arakeen. I think there's the handbook of the Hodge. Okay, I found that.
Okay, so the next chapter is the lecture at Arakeen, and that's like about almost exactly another 100 pages in our edition, which probably for you it's probably like a quarter. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess the difference is like, I found it because your edition obviously is like more.
It's bigger font.
Yeah. So
okay, I found it.
You want to? Yeah. Do you want to try
page 234 in mine?
Okay. So it's like dividing it up just in quarters of like the whole story.
That will work.
Okay.
And I'm always down for more Princess Irulan because
right. Yeah. So 201. Okay. Cool. Or 201.
My girl, even though she's barely in this fucking series.
Yeah.
The movies fucked me up because like I fell in love with Julie Cox in the second version of it. Also Virginia Madsen in the original was great, but barely in it. I feel like we should have done an intro. We should have done an intro, but with Jen superimposed reading the
beginning is a delicate time. Now that it is the year 10,191.
Yeah. A beginning is a very delicate time.
Oh, and one more. I like how in that intro thing, she's like, "Oh, and I forgot to tell you one more thing." It's like you're here for the intro. You can't forget the whole point of your thing.
You had one job.
Yeah.
And here's
who wrote this for you?
Introducing the iPod. But wait, one more thing.
But wait, there's more.
Thank you very much, everybody who joined us on this journey. We managed to make 2 hours out of 100 pages, a little over.
Those the dick jokes. The dick jokes helped, I think.
The dick jokes.
A lot to talk about, though, because there was a lot to unpack in this, because I have to say this was probably the grimmest chapters to start. Like, it's very
dark and weird. Yeah.
And foreshadowing, and I didn't remember the children being kind of so heavy at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't either. I kind of was like, oh yeah, these kids. Okay, I remember.
And I mean, Ghanima is so interesting to me because she's kind of going along with her brother, and at the same time, she's like, I don't know, like this is kind of. I don't think this is a great idea, but I'm just gonna go with it because he's so sure.
She's Lisa Simpson.
Literally, but let me be straight.
We can't play.
I'm not going to fuck you.
Yeah, I can't be possessed again, Bart.
Like, I'm not having your kids. I'm not fucking you. Like, and the fact that it even has to be a discussion in this book is kind of jarring.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like it's come up before. It's been come up every book so far, right? Like,
coming up, Alia's fall.
Falia,
yes. Mm-hmm. We might have an Irulan sighting. More of Jessica trying to deal with what the fuck is going on with these goddamn grandchildren.
I guess I'm following my grandkids' plan now.
Stilgar has some great moments where like his siege becomes Texas.
Yeah.
Except successfully secedes from.
Yeah, he's way better at Texasing than Texas.
It will get a little bit more action packed. This was a lot of setup, and we'll see you in about 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody, and take care.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.